Time at 6 o'clock. Is everything ready for the beginning? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Nanda Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Nandana Brajajanaran Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Nandana Brajajana Yamunatira Vanachadi Yamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayo Mishpad Paramahamsa Hari Vajagacharya Astatarasata C.C. Modest Divine Grace C.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Pimanandi. Surabhi, are you online? Surabhi, please speak something because I can't hear you.
Now can you hear me? Krishna,
There's a translator in Beijing,
I can hear you.
and we're waiting for the sound to connect, and usually it works, but yeah, it's 7 a.m. It's the morning Bhagavatam class time.
Hare Krishna.
Ah, there you are.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't know why you cannot hear me.
Okay, we can hear each other now, and technology is really great when it works. And now it's working, so it's great.
Yes.
So I'm going to begin. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So it's your Thursday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class time, but this morning we're going to do something special. We're going to once again speak something about Srimati Radharani.
那通常听堂下周四呢是讲跟圣典国家瓦坛有关的，那么但是今天呢，我给大家讲特别的一个话题，还是来讲 Srimati Radharani。
I don't think any of us have Radharani fatigue because she's ever fresh and very sweet, and we're happy to hear more and more and more.
我从来就没有认为关于 Radharani 的话题是会是单调的，因为 Radharani 它本身就是永恒长新的，所以聆听它的话题也是百听不厌的。
And I thought a very nice place to begin is at Govardhan Hill.
我想呢，我们可以从勾尔丹山开始，这是一个比较好的开始。
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that we should not walk on Govardhan Hill because Govardhan is not different than Krishna.
主持他那么哈特不教导我们，我们不应该去到勾尔丹山上去行走，因为勾尔丹山跟 Krishna 毫无分别。
Cows, they can graze on the side of Govardhan Hill, that's okay.
那在这个房子建在勾尔丹山下，这是没问题的。
But devotees of Krishna, we don't walk on Govardhan Hill, but look, Radha and Krishna, they're walking on Govardhan Hill.
但是呢，作为奉献者，我们不去勾尔丹山行走，不能去勾尔丹行走。但是我们在这张图片上可以看到 Radharani 和 Krishna 在勾尔丹上散步行走呀。
Many wonderful pastimes of Radha and Krishna took place along the side of Govardhan Hill. We'll be discussing some of those wonderful pastimes.
Radha 和 Krishna 的许多生活时光都是在勾尔丹山路上演的。我们今天呢就会讲其中的一部分。
I found this next illustration very interesting. Besides, normally Radha is on the other side of Krishna. It's normally Krishna playing the flute and Radha looking at Krishna. And it's a little different in this painting.
在荧幕上的这张图片呢，跟往常有不一样的地方。通常情况下 ，Radharani 是在 Krishna 的左边，但是这个荧幕上是 Radharani 在 Krishna 的右边，而且 Radharani 手持笛子在吹笛子，这跟平常的照片不一样。
And sometimes their pastimes together are a little mysterious.
有的时候他们 Radha 和 Krishna 的生活时光有一点神秘。
Those of you that have been to Vrindavan, you probably recognize this picture, this image. This is Manasi Ganga.
大家去过文达文的奉献者，看到这张图
Govardhan Hill runs a long distance north and south and is very thin, and Manasi Ganga is right in the middle.
那么呢，从勾尔丹山从北到南是这个形状是比较狭长的一个形状，而 Manasi Ganga 就处在中间的部分。
The name Manasi Ganga is given because Krishna created the Ganga from his mind.
为什么它被称为是 Manasi Ganga 呢？是因为 Krishna 通过他的心意造出的 Manasi Ganga。
There was a nice pastime in which Manasi Ganga was manifested.
有一段小时光就描述了 Manasi Ganga 是如何展现出来的。
Krishna saw that his father Nanda Maharaj was preparing for a journey, so he asked him, "Where are you preparing to go? May I go with you?"
Krishna 看见他的父亲 Nanda Maharaj 在准备着要出去旅行的行踪，然后 Krishna 就问他的爸爸：“你要去哪里旅行啊？我想跟你一块。”
Nanda said, "It's a very long journey and you're very small. I don't think you should go with me. I'm going to take bath in the river Ganga because of its purification purposes."
Nanda Maharaj 告诉小 Krishna 说：“这是一段很长的旅程，所以呢，你太小了，我不想带着你一起去。我现在要去恒河沐浴。”
And Krishna said, "You don't have to go a long distance to Ganga. Ganga's right here in Vrindavan."
Krishna 对 Nanda Maharaj 说道：“你不用大老远的去恒河沐浴，在 Vrindavan 就有恒河啊，Ganga 呀。”
Nanda put his arm around little Gopal and said, "No, no, no. Ganga is very far away."
Nanda 爸爸就把他的手拍着小 Krishna 的头，说道：“不，恒河离这里很远。”
And then Gopal said, "No, no. Ganga is right here. Come, I'll show you."
然后 Gopal 对 Nanda Maharaj 说道：“不，恒河就在这里，我指给你看。”
Within his mind, Krishna called Ganga Devi to personally come and fill this large part of Govardhan Hill, and with a vast lake or pond or body of water, kund.
然后 Krishna 就在内心换来了恒河的人格化身，就在这个狗尔丹山的这一部分，让这个恒河之水填满了狗尔丹山的这一个部分，然后这里就形成了一个大湖泊或者是一个大池塘。
So Krishna had actually brought Ganga all the way to Vrindavan.
所以实际上 Krishna 把恒河从大老远带到了 Vrindavan。
When Nanda Maharaj reached this kund, he patted Krishna on the head and said, "No, no, this is just a nice lake." And Krishna pointed, "See, there's Ganga Devi coming out of the Ganga." And when Nanda Maharaj saw Ganga Devi evolving, riding her crocodile on the surface of the Manasi Ganga, he embraced his son. "Very well, I don't have to travel anywhere."
当 Gopal 把 Nanda 爸爸就带到了这个湖泊，带到了这个湖困，指给 Nanda 爸爸说道：“你看，这就是，你看，这就是恒河。” Nanda 爸爸拍着 Gopal 的头说：“不，这不是。”然后Gopal 对 Nanda 爸爸说：“你看，Ganga Devi就在那里。”然后 Nanda 爸爸就看见了 Ganga Devi 骑着他的坐骑鳄鱼出现在面前，然后 Nanda 爸爸对小 Gopal 说道：“哦，好，太好了，那我就不用那么大费周折的去恒河了。”
When Krishna was present in Vrindavan, Govardhan Hill was much bigger, and Manasi Ganga was much wider and larger.
当 Krishna 显现在文达那的时候，那个时候勾瓦丹山比现在要高大得多，那个时候 Manasi Ganga 也比现在要宽广得多。
One of the main services of the gopis was to milk the cows at the end of the day and take the dairy products to the marketplace nearby.
每天那些 gopi 们，他们在一天结束的时候，他们主要的一个职责之一就是去挤奶，然后把这些奶挤的奶做成各种各样的奶制品，拿到集市上去卖。
One day, they were planning to cross Manasi Ganga by boat to the marketplace on the other side.
有一天，这些牧牛姑娘们带着奶制品，准备坐船到马拉西冈嘎的河对岸的集市上去卖这些奶制品。
But when they got to the boat area, the supply of boats was almost finished.
但是当他们来到这个停船的地方的时候，令他们惊讶的是，几乎没有什么船只在那里停泊的。
There was only one boat remaining, and it looked very old, and the person who was the boatman was asleep in the boat, of dark complexion. Hint, it was Krishna.
他们就看见有一只旧船，特别老旧的船停泊在这个湖里，而且呢，皮肤黝黑的船夫，那就暗示的是Krishna。皮肤黝黑的船夫在船里面睡大觉呢。
The gopis were reluctant to get into this old boat, but there was no other choice, so they boarded the boat.
这些 gopi 们呢，不是很情愿去坐这条老旧的船，但是呢，也没有其他，只有这一条船，于是他们就上了这条老船。
And after the boatman got the boat well into Manasi Ganga, he told the gopis, I haven't eaten all day and I'm really hungry. You're going to have to feed me something.
当船夫把船摇到了马拉西冈嘎的河中央的时候，船夫对 gopi 们说：“我一天都没吃什么东西了，你们给我点吃的吧，我饿极了。”
They were very happy to feed the boatman, but after the boatman ate so much, he started to feel really tired and told them he had to take a nap.
后来这些牧牛姑娘们呢，非常的高兴，将这个食物喂给这个船夫吃。但是这个船夫吃完了以后，他感觉非常的疲劳，他说我要休息会儿。
And he fell fast asleep.
然后船夫就睡着了。
After some time, the gopis were in anxiety. They had to get to the marketplace, so they woke him up strongly.
然后这过了一段时间之后，这船夫还没醒来，这些牧牛姑娘们就着急了，于是呢就把他猛地推醒了，把船夫猛地推醒了。
So he yawned and stood up and started plying the boat across Manasi Ganga.
然后船夫呢起来伸了伸懒腰，然后慢慢的把船开始开到了马拉西恒河的对岸。
But just as he began rowing, a big, violent storm came swooming in, and big rain and wind, and a big storm started to happen right in the middle of Manasi Ganga.
这个船夫要摇桨继续划船的时候，那一刹那，突然河水翻起了大浪，然后暴风骤起，下起了这个大雨。
The boatman
在恒河的中心，就在马拉西冈嘎恒河的中心，一场暴风雨。
The boatman said, "This is really dangerous. This boat is very old. It has lots of holes, and we could sink."
否则的话就会沉下去。
All your clay pots with all your dairy products, you have to throw them over the side of the boat.
你们也必须要把这个储存的奶制品的这些罐子全都扔到河里去，否则的话，这个船就会沉下去了。
And Krishna was rocking the boat this way and rocking the boat that way, and more water was coming in the boat.
然后 Krishna 就在船上把这个船左摇右晃的，乃至这个船里就进了更多的水。
So they took their clay pots and tried to empty the boat from the water that was filling up the boat.
于是呢，他们就把这个罐子里的东西全都倒掉了，然后用罐子把船里的水摇出去。
And Krishna said, "This is very dangerous. All the ornaments that you're wearing, you have to take them off and throw them into Manasi Ganga also."
然后船夫就对他们说道：“这太危险了，你们必须要把身上的这些金银首饰全都扔到马拉西干的恒河里，否则的话，这个船承受不了这些重量，它就会沉下去。”
Fearing for their lives, they did exactly what the boatman said. Fearing for their lives, they did exactly what the boatman said.
然后他们害怕会这个因此而丧命，他们知道这个船夫说的是什么意思。
But the water kept coming in more and more.
但是呢，这个水越来越多的水进到了船里。
So Krishna said something very tricky. He said, "Because your clothes are all now wet and heavy, you have to take your clothes off too, to throw that into Manasi Ganga." And the gopis said, "Oh no, what kind of boatman are you?" And they jumped on him and they found out he had a flute in his back. It wasn't a boatman, it was Krishna. They were going to throw him across over the boat.
然后船夫就对这些牧牛姑娘们说道：“你看看，你们的衣服全都浸湿了水，所以然后这个重量就越来越重，所以你们必须要把你们身上的衣服都扔到河里去。”牧牛姑娘们听了以后非常的不高兴，说：“不，怎么能这样呢？”然后他们就跳了起来，就冲了上去，后来他们发现这个船夫的腰后面憋着一只笛子。他们恍然大悟，原来这个船夫就是 Krishna， 他们恨不得要把 Krishna 扔到河里去。
Krishna smiled.
Krishna 笑了。
The clouds and the storm subsided. Everything became very peaceful, and they plied their way across Manasi Ganga very contentedly.
就在这个时候，乌云散去，暴风雨也停止了，然后他们就是非常平静的坐着这个船 ，Krishna 摇着这个船，把他们渡过了河岸对面，这些牧牛姑娘们都心满意足。
This is a celebrated pastime with Krishna and the gopis.
这个消时光是非常著名的，是和 Krishna 和那些牧牛姑娘们非常著名的一段消时光。
And there are many other celebrated boat pastimes of Krishna and Radha enjoying together.
还有很多其他 Radha 和 Krishna 在一起欢度船的消时光。
Now here's a close-up of that same place at Manasi Ganga.
这个地方呢是离马拉西干的附近的一个地方。
Now we're going to move on along the eastern side of Govardhan Hill.
我们现在从这个高瓦丹山的东边
And
走去。
we're going to reach a place that's a very celebrated sacred place called Dan Gati.
我们会去到一个非常著名的圣地冈加提这个地方。
there's a place by Dangati where it is said that there's a footprint of Radharani in the Govardhan Shila at the base of the Govardhan Hill.
据说，当加体这个地方，在郭外丹山底下有 Radharani 的足迹，在岩石上有 Radharani 的足迹。
In this particular location, the Govardhan Hill is quite tall, as you see.
我们在郭外丹山的这个具体的地方，我们可以看到郭外丹山是非常高的。
And there's a little temple commemorating a very wonderful pastime enacted between Radha and Krishna, which I'm going to narrate. 在郭外丹山顶上有一个小小的神庙，这个小小的神庙呢，就纪念着 Radha 和 Krishna 在这里上演的一段非常著名的相时光。我现在会讲给大家。There's a whole book written by Raghunath Das Goswami describing this pastime, and it's very beautiful. Raghunath Das Goswami 他写了一整部书来描述了在这个地方上演的逍遥时光。Yesterday we mentioned Danakeli, you remember, because in Beijing there's a devotee named Danakeli. 昨天我们在讲述的时候提到了 Danakeli 这个地方，这段逍遥时光，大家肯定都能记住，因为在北京有一位奉献者的名字叫 Danakeli. This is a pastime depicting that event of Krishna taking tax from the gopis. The pastime begins with the narration of Vasudeva, because he lived in Mathura. Vasudeva was arranging a yagya to be performed by the side of Govardhan Hill at Govindakund. The purpose of the yagya was for the benefit of Krishna and Balaram, his two boys. And the chief priest was named Bhaguri Muni, a very celebrated son of Garga Muni who lived in Vrindavan. Bhaguri. So the yagya was getting set up, and Radharani's parrot informed Radharani about the yagya. Radharani's parrot's name is Sumukhi. Now, the cowherd community, they used parrots a lot instead of text messages with their cell phones. The parrots would carry a message from here to there, informing of different activities going on in Vrindavan that should be known by the owner of that parrot. When Radharani heard the news, she and the gopis made a plan to bring all the ghee and other dairy products needed for a big yagya.
了所很多的地，还有这些奶制品，
And
来去就是为这个压表做准备的。
the path that they followed was along Dangati, as you'll see, as you saw in the paint or the photograph before. It's a place where they would cross Govardhan Hill from one side to the other to bring the dairy products to Govindakund.
那么当他们呢从这个高瓦丹松的这边行走到Govindakund，就是举行祭祀的地方，行走到Govindakund的中间，他们会路过刚才说的这个Dana，就是那个收税的地方，上面收税的地方的这条路要经过这个地方。Dana Kadi， this is the name.
Dan Gati, Gati. Dan Gati.
他们要经过Dangati 这个地方，就是刚才大家看到的图片的那个圣地，特别特殊的那个圣地。
Krishna's parrot found out and informed Krishna the gopis are bringing all their dairy products to the yajna.
然后 Krishna 的那只鹦鹉也告诉了 Krishna， 说到的这些牧牛姑娘们带着他们的这些奶制品会经过Dangati 这个地方。
So, along with his cowherd boys, he intercepted the gopis and stopped them.
然后 Krishna 就带着他的这些牧牛朋友们，就挡住了Gopi姑娘们的去路。
And he said something very funny.
然后呢，他说了一个很滑稽的话。
As you know, one of Krishna's names is Madan Mohan.
大家都知道 Krishna 有一个名字叫 Madana Mohan，
And it means he's the attractor of Cupid. He's so attractive, he even attracts Cupid.
那意思是 Krishna 是如此的迷人，甚至迷住了丘比特。
He said, Kandarpa sent me. Kandarpa is a name of Cupid.
他说到了 Kandarpa 是丘比特的一个名字。Kandarpa 告诉我，
And I see you're carrying many pots filled with dairy products.
而且我看见了你们顶着这么多的罐子，罐子里有那么多的奶制品，
And you paid no taxes to the king.
而你们呢还没有向国王交税呢。
So before you pass, you're going to have to pay taxes.
所以你们要从这里经过的话，之前必须要交税。
They all were very surprised. We've never been asked to pay taxes.
牧牛姑娘们听了以后惊讶不已，他们从来没有人告诉过他们去交税呀。
Lalita came forward and spoke some very strong words to Krishna. Get out of our way.
玛丽塔站到了前面，然后对Krishna 言辞以待，说道：“从这里走开。”
But the cowherd boys wouldn't let them pass.
但是呢，牧牛童们挡着他们，就是不让他们过去。
Now, the cowherd boys and the cowherd girls, they're from the Vaishya community.
这些牧牛童们和这些牧牛姑娘们，全都是来自Vaishya的家庭。
And there are three main occupations for a Vaishya.
那么对于一位Vaishya，有3项主要的活动。
Cow protection, agriculture, and business, commerce and trade.
他们的这3项主要的活动就是务农、保护乳牛，并且经商，做这种生意交易。
So Vaishyas are really good at talking business.
Vaishya 特别擅长谈生意。
So these are just boys and girls, but they were getting trained up how to talk business.
虽然这些都是牧牛童、牧牛姑娘们，但是呢，他们互相的谈着生意。
So Krishna asked one of his cowherd boyfriends to assess how much tax they should pay.
然后 Krishna 呢就去到他的一个牧牛童朋友那里，就问他们应该交多少税。
And then it was decided that each of the gopis should pay 5 palmfuls of diamonds for their dairy products.
然后呢，他们就决定每一个牧牛姑娘应该去为他们应该交 5 pounds
Palm, they're in their hand, palm of their hand.
diamonds，
Diamonds.
要交5把钻石的税。
And then Krishna began to evaluate how much Radha's tax should be.
然后 Krishna 自己来去估计 Radha 应该交多少税。
And this is the largest part of the book, the discussion about what Radha should pay for her eyebrows, for her smile, for her hair, for her beautiful eyes, for her special nose, for her chin, for all her limbs of her body, and so many sapphires, and so many thises, and so many that's. He was glorifying her features, saying she should pay tax because of her wonderful features.
那么呢，就在这本书、这本著作当中呢，有很大一部分是最大的一部分，描述了 Krishna 在那里估算着 Radharani 要为她美丽的前额、头发、她美丽的特殊的这个鼻子，还有下颚，要为 Radharani 的身上的每一个部分去交税。实际上 Krishna 以这种方式荣耀了 Srimati Radharani。
Now, it's a long section. I've included only a small portion just to give some idea, and you can just translate this into Chinese. And the persons in the room with me, they can read it in English.
那么这个部分呢是非常长的一部分，我在这里呢就把其中的内容用简短的话语概述了一下。现在可以把它翻译成中文，在屋子里的奉献者都可以读这个英文。为了你的红色的 sindura 印记，为了你的这个头发上的红色的 sindura 印记，你应该要付
Do the best you can.
10万个水晶石的税，为你的美丽的辫子，你的辫子就像是黑色的 mascara 一样的闪闪发光，你应该为此付10万个美丽的宝石的税。哦，美丽，有着美丽眼眉的女孩你应该为你的前额，你的前额就像是金色的半月一样闪闪发光，你应该为此付10万个10万个闪闪发光的月石的税。
I'll leave it to your imagination. There's pages and pages of Krishna describing the beauty of Radha and the tax she must pay because of her beauty.
我呢就是节选了概述了这一部分的内容，给大家在脑海里可以这样去想象一下，有一页一页的这个文字描述了 Krishna 对 Radharani 的荣耀，描述了他的身体的每个部位是多么的美丽他 Radharani 应该为此付税。Krishna 通过这样的描述来荣耀 Srimati Radharani。
Radharani was not going to be flattered. She told Krishna, "Get out of my way. We're coming through. There's a yajna to be performed."
然后 Radharani 可没有听取 Krishna 的这 Krishna 说：“请你走开，我们要去到举行压甲的地方，那里会有一场压甲正要举行了。”
So far, it had just been a verbal exchange. Then it started to get a little more intense, a little feisty.
那么到目前为止呢，他们只不过是口齿之争就是唇舌相击。但是后来呢，就发生了会有这种行为上的一些动作产生。
Just at that perfect moment, Nandi Mukhi, another one of the important gopi friends of Radha, who is really good at mediation, she came along.
就在那关键的一瞬间，Radharani 的那个牧牛姑娘朋友 Nandi Mukhi 来到了现场。Nandi Mukhi 特别的擅长进行调解。
Nandamukhi asked, "What's going on here? Why are you in such a state of tension with one another? Please tell me. Maybe I can help."
Nandamukhi 就问他们发生什么事儿了？你们之间怎么这么紧张？请告诉我。
When they described everything to her, Nandimukhi was simply amazed at the wonderful, loving exchange between Radha and her gopis and Krishna and his gopas.
当 Nandamukhi 听到了，一五一十的听到了这些描述之后，Nandamukhi 对 Radha 和他的牧牛姑娘们，跟 Krishna 和他的这些牧牛童们之间的爱的交流感到惊愕不已。
She made a proposed solution.
她提出了这样的一个解决办法。
She said, "There's an important yajna that is taking place now. Let the gopis take all their dairy products to Bhaguri Muni for the yajna, and tomorrow we can meet up again at the same place and settle the dispute."
Nandamukhi 就说到了，现在请这些牧牛姑娘们带着他们的这些奶制品去到举行祭祀的地方，因为马上就要一场祭祀就要举行，让这些牧牛姑娘们把他们的这些奶制品带给巴古穆尼，因为巴古穆尼要举行祭祀。明天我们再来到同一个地方，再解决这个问题。
The next day, early in the morning, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gopis were assembled, all hiding behind trees and rocks, ready to pounce on the gopas when they came the next morning.
那么第二天，上百上千的牧牛姑娘们都聚集在一起，她们事先躲在了树后、岩石后。
And only a small
当这些牧牛童们一来，他们就准备上去。
The same small number of cowherd boys were with Krishna.
而 Krishna 就带了一小群牧牛童们来到现场。
And when the cowherd boys came along unsuspecting, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gopis surrounded them and tied them up to the trees.
当这几个牧牛童们到现场的时候，突然之间，他们意想不到的是，突然之间，成百上千的牧牛姑娘们出现了，把他们团围住，然后把他们绑在了树上。
And they came right in front of Krishna and said, "You're the offender."
然后牧牛姑娘们去到 Krishna 面前说：“你就是冒犯者。”
Radharani is the queen of Vrindavan.
Radharani 是 Vrindavan 的皇后。
And you've been bringing your cows in Vrindavan every day, not paying any tax for all the grass that they're eating. So now you have to pay tax.
你每天带着母牛去放牛，去吃那些青草，那你们还没有为这个牛吃的青草付税呢。现在你们必须要付税了。
And not only that, you've offended Radharani. You're going to have to pay a tax for that too. Krishna smiled.
Krishna 笑了。
What tax would you like?
Krishna 说：“你想让我付什么税呢？”
You bow before Radharani, place your head at Radharani's feet, and you beg her forgiveness.
你要跪在 Radharani 的足下，向 Radharani 祈求原谅。
Krishna agreed.
Krishna 同意了。
And this is the place along the side of Govardhan Hill where that pastime occurred is called Dan Nivartan Kund.
这个地方叫 Danivartan Kund， 就是刚才这段逍遥时光上演的地方。
Krishna took his bath in this kund, and everything was made nice again.
Krishna 在这个 Kund 里面沐浴之后，一切都恢复了正常。
And that's just one of the so many tax pastimes that occurred.
那么刚才讲的这段关于收税的逍遥时光，只是许许多多收税逍遥时光当中的一个。
You saw this image yesterday, right?
昨天晚上你们见过这张图片是吧？
This is at a place called Sankadi Kor by Varsana.
这个地方被称为Sankadi，
Sa-
这是 Varsana 附近的。
yes, Sankadi Kor is a place by Varsana.
Sankadi Kor 这个地方是 Varsana， 就在 Varsana 附近。
At the bottom of the hill that you see here is where the cows would be milked.
我们在这个下面，在山脚下，我们可以看到那里有这个奶牛，他们在挤奶。
And the gopis would bring the milk, as you see, carrying upon their heads like this.
我们可以看到牧牛姑娘们把这个牛奶装在罐子里，头顶的这些罐子。
Sometimes Krishna would stop them and demand a tax before they could pass. Sometimes he would steal this way, as you see, hanging from the limb of a tree.
有的时候 Krishna 会挡住他们的去路，要求他们付税；有的时候 Krishna 会藏在树上，偷他们罐子里的牛奶。
And this is the passage called Sankadi Kor. It's a gully. It's where one mountainside meets another mountainside, and it's very, very difficult to pass.
这个地方 Sankadi
Kor, K-O-R, K-O-R, Kor.
Sankadi Kor 这个地方呢，它是一个咖喱，它为什么称为咖喱呢？是因为是两个山坡交汇的一个狭长的过道。
On the other side of the gully is the village of Chitra Devi, one of the principal gopis.
在咖喱的对面是 Chitra Shakti。Chitra Shakti 是8个牧牛姑娘当中的一位。
So
Shakti 居住的地方。
a similar thing happened in this particular pastime. The next day, the cowherd boys came to stop the gopis. They were prepared.
那么呢，就同样的类似的税收的消时光发生在这里。第二天，这些牧牛童们来到这里，准备来到这里。
Just before reaching Sankadi Kor, they hid behind trees and stones and jumped on the cowherd boys and tied them up with their sikas to the trees and to the rocks.
那么这些牧牛姑娘们呢，她们就藏在了这个香卡里库这个地方的岩石后。等这些牧牛童们到来的时候，这些牧牛姑娘们就突然出来，然后把这些牧牛童们的这个 用绳子绑起来吊在树上。
Once the cowherd boys were free, the gopis could pass with their dairy products over to Chiksoli, the village of Chitradevi.
然后呢，他们当
When yes, the gopis were able to pass to go to the village of Chitradevi.
就这样呢，这些牧牛姑娘们就能够通过这条道路去到 Chitrasati 所居住的村庄。
So the cowherd boys later quietly followed and broke into the storeroom where they kept all the dairy products and were stealing the dairy products from the storeroom.
然后这些牧牛童们呢，就悄悄地跟在他们身后面，偷偷地去到了他们储存奶制品的这个仓库，从仓库里盗取了这些奶制品。
But it was a trick. The gopis were playing a trick on the cowherd boys.
但是呢，这是一个小花招，这是公主们对这些牧牛童们耍的一个花招。
They saw them enter the storeroom and they locked the storeroom from the outside.
他们看到这些牧牛童们进到了仓库里、储存库里，然后呢，等他们进入之后，牧牛姑娘们就把这个仓库的门、储存库的门反锁起来。
The cowherd boys turned to Krishna. What are we going to do now?
然后这些牧牛童朋友们就转身对 Krishna 说：“我们现在该怎么办呢？”
He said, no problem. And he pointed to a window for ventilation up high in the storeroom. And they all climbed out of the window, except for one of the boys, and that was Madhu Mangal.
然后 Krishna 说：“没关系，没问题。”他指了指这个储存库里上面的窗户，告诉他们说：“我们可以搭乘人梯从窗户里爬出去。”
Madhu Mangal
但是其中就有一个，就是身子比较胖的 Madhu Mangal。
Madhu Mangal was a Brahmin boy, and he was very fond of eating ladus, so he had a bit of a chubby belly.
Madhu Mangal 是一位浑文的儿子，他特别喜欢吃拉肚，所以呢，他的肚子长得圆圆滚滚的。
So he couldn't fit through the window.
所以呢，他不能够从窗户里爬出去，爬不过去。
The upper part of his body went through the window, but the belly part didn't fit through the window.
他的这个肚子以上的部分呢，能够伸到窗户外，但是肚子被卡在了窗户中间。
And then the gopis opened the door and they saw this wiggling pair of legs stuck in the window, and they got some sticks and began whacking the back end of Madhu Mangal.
然后这些牧牛姑娘们把储存室的门锁打开，然后就发现这个 Madhu Mangal 被卡在了这个窗户中间，他的两条腿吊在外面瞎扑腾。于是牧牛姑娘们就拿起扫帚把它剁了下来。
So what did Madhu Mangal do? He called out, Krishna! Krishna, please help!
Madhu Mangal 做了什么呢？他在那里呼唤着 Krishna， 帮我吧，救我！
And then the cowherd girls got Madhu Mangal out of the window, and they took him over to Krishna Kund, as you see pictured here.
然后这些牧牛姑娘们就把 Madhu Mangal 从窗户上拽了出来，把他带到了 Krishna Kund， 就是图片上这个地方。
Look carefully at the photograph, and you'll see a rope hanging from one of the limbs of one of the trees.
大家仔细看这张图片，你们会发现一棵树上的树枝上挂着一根绳子。
And here's the kund from another angle, but you see the rope hanging down, right?
那么这是这个困的，从另一个角度看到的困，从这个角度看出去，你们可以看到这个树上的那根绳子。
So they tied Madhu Mangal Sika to the rope, and he was hanging over the kund, and they were spanking his backside.
那么这些木牛姑娘们就用绳子把马杜曼高的西塔系在一起，把它吊在这棵树上，刚好就吊在了这个困的中央。
He just took shelter of Krishna's holy name and was calling out for Krishna to come and rescue him.
马杜曼高他完全皈依 Krishna 的圣名，在那里呼唤着 Krishna 来救他，营救他。
So Krishna came.
Krishna 来了。
When you call Krishna's name, he's there.
当我们去呼唤 Krishna 的名字的时候 ，Krishna 就在那里啊。
And he put his hands on his hips and spoke very strongly to the gopis. You know what you've done. You have offended a brahmana. You're in big trouble now.
然后 Krishna 两手叉着腰，在那里斥责着木牛姑娘们，说道：“你们知道你们在做什么吗？你们冒犯了一位婆罗门，你们陷入了盲目之中。”
They released Madhu Mangal's Sika,
他们解下了马杜曼嘎的西卡，
and
他们把这个绳子从马杜曼嘎的西卡上解了下来。
Krishna had him sit, as you see up there on the right side. We're going to see this from a different angle now.
那么 Krishna 呢，就让他坐在了右边。
Now, this is the rainy season. The water level is much higher.
这个图片呢是当时在雨季的时候拍摄的，当时的水这个水位比较高。
And up on the top step is a tall seat where the Madhu Mangal sat.
就在这个旁边的台阶上有一个高处，那正是当时马杜曼嘎所坐的地方。
So Krishna asked Madhu Mangal, what would you like as a punishment for the gopis, for their offending you?
然后 Krishna 就问马杜曼嘎，这些木牛姑娘们冒犯了你，你想用什么样的方式来作为惩罚呢？对他们的惩罚呢？
And he said, they should bring 3 baskets filled with ladus, and I'll be all right.
然后马杜曼嘎说，他们应该给我3大篮子的拉杜，
So
就
he,
没问题了，就解决了。
as he was eating the ladus, he held up his right hand and gave blessings to all the gopis.
当他在吃这些拉杜的时候，他举起了他的右手，以示祝福这些木牛姑娘们。
May you be blessed with Krishna's favor throughout your life. May you be blessed with Krishna's favor throughout your life.
愿你们这一辈子都能获得 Krishna 的钟爱。
Now, there's another wonderful pastime near Varsana at a place called Pilipokar. Pili, P-I-L-I, and Pokar, P-O-K-H-A-R. There's the place.
在普里科卡这个地方，也是离瓦尔沙纳附近的一个地方，也上演了那一段非常美妙的小时光。
It's a village at the base of Varsana.
这是在瓦尔沙纳的一个村庄。
So yesterday you heard about this benediction that Radharani received from Durvasa Muni to become very expert at cooking, right?
昨天晚上的时候，我们聆听到了 Radharani 得到了Durvasa Muni 的祝福，他能非常的擅长烹饪的这一祝福。
Surabhi, did they hear that pastime?
Yes, you mentioned.
So, okay.
But didn't narrate the whole.
Okay. So from the time that Radharani was a very little girl, she had a benediction from Durvasa Muni to be really expert at cooking.
当 Radharani 还是一个非常小的女孩子的时候，她从 Durvasa Muni 那里获得了一个祝福，她将非常的擅长烹饪。
And not only her cooking would be wonderful, but anyone who took the cooking from Radha would live a long life and be very healthy.
不仅 Radharani 特别擅长，她得到的祝福是，不仅 Radharani 特别擅长烹饪，而且但凡谁荣耀到了 Radharani 所做的食物，他就会长生，他就会长命百岁，而且非常的健康。
When Mother Yasoda heard from Radharani's mother about this benediction, she made a request.
当 Yasoda 妈妈从 Radharani 的母亲那里听到了 Radharani 得到了这个祝福之后，她提出了这样的一个请求。
Please send your daughter every morning to cook for Krishna before he goes out to herd the cows.
请把您的女儿每天清晨送过来给 Krishna 做饭，在 Krishna 去放牛之前给 Krishna 做饭。
So it became a regular practice. Every day, Radha and her friends would come to a very special kitchen called Radha's Kitchen in Mother Yasoda's house, and Radha would prepare a wonderful meal for Krishna every morning.
就这样呢 Radharani 每天非常规律的和她的这些牧牛姑娘们一起去到 Yasoda 妈妈的准备的一个特殊的厨房，叫 Radha 的厨房。Radha 在那个厨房里给 Krishna 准备非常美妙可口的饭菜。
And you can only imagine what the relationship was like between Mother Yasoda and Radha. They developed incredible affection for one another.
你们可以想象一下 Yasoda 和 Radha 之间的这种关系是多么的亲密，他们之间是亲密无，他们之间的这种情感如此的深厚，是不可描述的，是不可思议的。
In a very natural way, Mother Yasoda began to think, wouldn't it be nice if one day Krishna and Radha were to become married?
很自然的，有时候妈妈在脑海里这么想的：终有一天，Radha 和 Krishna 能够结婚，难道不好吗？
She didn't say anything, but that idea became stronger and stronger. And finally, one day, she made a joke with Radha.
那么，有时候妈妈并没有说出口，但是她的这个愿望越来越强烈，越来越强烈。有一天，有时候妈妈给 Radha 开了个玩笑。
With much laughter, in a joking way, she decorated the hands and the arms of Radha with decorations indicating the engagement for marriage with her son.
然后，雅诗的妈妈就笑着，开怀大笑的开个玩笑，把就是一个代表着是就是有这个就是提出婚约的这样的一个标志物涂在了 Radha 的手里。
Although it was only in fun, when Radha left to go back to her home, she was thinking, what will my mother and father think?
虽然这只是一个玩笑，但是呢，当 Radha 在回家的路上，她这么想的：如果我的父母看到了，他们会怎么想呢？
So with embarrassment and anxiety, she washed all the markings off her hand and arms into this kund called Pili Pokar.
然后呢，她就是特别愁绪不安的，在焦虑的，就去到了这个困，将她手上的象征的，就是把这种标志物洗了下来。这个壶呢，就叫
Pili Pokar.
Pili Pokar.
Pili means yellow, so the water became yellowish from the turmeric on her arms and hands.
那么 Pili 的意思是黄色的。Radha 把她手上涂的这个姜黄粉全都洗了下来，所以这个湖呢就湖水变黄了。
There's more to the story, but I'll narrate that another time. I want to move on.
有很多这样的逍遥时光，那么在其他的时候我再去讲述这样的其他的逍遥时光。今天我想继续往后，继续向前讲下面的。
Especially when you visit Vrindavan, hopefully many of you will come with us next Kartik to Vrindavan. We'll all visit Yavat, as you see pictured here.
那么希望呢，来年我们大家都能够聚集在一起去到文达文。当我们如果来年去到文达文的时候，我们会去到 Yavat 这个地方，就是图片上你们所看到的。
Yavat is the home of Abhimanyu.
Yavat 这个地方是 Abhimanyu 的家。
Abhimanyu was the leader in that village of Yavat within Vrindavan. He was very, very wealthy, and his business was cow herding. Cow herding. He was a cow herd.
Yes. Abhimanyu 呢是文达文的这个村庄 Yavat 这里的村长，他呢非常的富有，他每天的活动就是看管牧牛，就是牧牛。
He was so wealthy, it is said that the inside of his house was plated with gold.
他非常非常的富有，据说他的屋子里满是黄金。
And he was always very eager for his wife, Radha, to do pujas to increase his piety so he could become more wealthy. He was that kind of a person.
阿弥妈咪是什么样的人呢？他总是希望他的妻子 Radha 去施行各种各样的祭祀，来为他的虔诚的活动施行各种各样的祭祀，这样呢，他能够变得越来越富有。
In the middle is his mother Jatila, because she used to keep her hair in a jat on top of her head, a pile of messed up hair.
那么中间的这位女士呢，是阿比玛尼的母亲，叫 Jatila。Jatila 她通常把她的头发挽得高高的，顶在头顶。
She was thought to be something like a madwoman.
她呢，就是像是一个疯女人一样。
And Kutila was always suspecting the worst of her husband's wife, Radharani.
而Kutila呢，总是把这个他的这个兄弟的妻子 Radharani 想得最坏。
So I'm going to tell a few pastimes and then we're going to end. It could go on for another several hours.
那我现在呢，再讲几个消时光。那如果再这样讲下去的话，可能要讲好几个小时。
One time, Abhimanyu had gone out of the home early in the morning to arrange for purchase of some cows.
有一天，阿比妈咪一大早就出门去了，去购买母牛。
And when he was gone, Krishna, who knew exactly how to imitate anybody, appeared in the form of Abhimanyu and warned his mother, Jatila, you better watch out.
然后就在阿比妈咪出去的那一瞬间 ，Krishna 他出现了。Krishna 他非常的擅长去模仿每一个人，然后他就把自己伪装成一模一样的这个阿比妈咪，去到 Jatila 的Jatila 他的母亲阿比妈咪的母亲面前说：“你最好出去看看。”
I know that you and my sister are always concerned that Krishna will try to sneak in and associate with Radharani. I received word that he's just now on his way impersonating you, dressed like you and everything. So you get ready at the gate, have sticks, and don't let him in.
然后呢，他就对 Jatila 和这个 Kutila 就说到：“我知道你们就是总是担心 Krishna 会跟你的这个儿媳会偷偷的约会。就在这个时候 ，Krishna
And I'll go to protect Radha just in case he gets past you.
然后就在这个时候 ，Krishna 他来了，所以你呢要手里拿着扫帚，然后不要让这个伪装成阿比曼努的 Krishna 来到家里。我现在前去保护 Radha。
So Krishna went to be with Radha in Jatila's own home.
然后 Krishna 呢就去到了 Radha 在 Jatila 家的他自己的房间里。Radha 在一起。
After some time, Abhimanyu came back home.
然后过了一段时间，阿比曼努回到家里。
And Jatila and Kantila were ready. They had their sticks, and they spoke really harsh words.
然后 Jatila 和 Kutila 他们都已经准备好了，手里拿着扫帚，冲着阿比曼努斥责他。
You imposter! We know who you are. You're a bad person. Get out of here or we'll beat you with our sticks till you can't move.
你这个坏家伙，你赶紧滚开，否则的话我们就打你，用手中的棍子打你。
And Abhimanyu was really surprised.
阿比曼努看了以后特别的惊讶。
What are you saying? I'm your son and your brother, and I just came back to get some more money to buy some cows, and what happened to you?
阿比曼努说到了，我是你儿子，对这个库奇拉说我是你哥哥，到底发生什么了？我现在回家取点钱去买牛。
They just said it again. You know, we know who you are. Stop playing tricks on us. We're not going to be fooled. Get out or we'll beat you till you're dead on the ground. So he thought I have to. Some ghost has inhabited them. I better go find somebody that knows mantras to relieve the ghost from my mother and sister. Yeah.
然后 Jatila 和 Kutila 就说到，我们才不上你的当呢，你别在这里花言巧语，我们不上你的当啊！你要是不赶紧滚开的话，我们就用手里的棍子把你打倒在地，打死你。后来 Abhimanyu 说道，怎么回事啊？我的母亲和我的妹妹怎么像是鬼附体了一样？我要去找这个婆罗门来给他们解除这个咒语，来把这个鬼从他们身上驱走。
Here's another pastime. It's very interesting. It's one of Dinabandhu's favorites. He'll tell it when we go there to Yavat. Jatila said to her daughter, I'm unable to protect Radharani, your sister-in-law, from the glances of Krishna, so I'm going to forbid her from leaving the house. So as you heard, it was the practice of Radha, even in marriage, to go every morning and cook for Krishna. So Mother Jasoda's assistant named Danishta, she came to accompany Radha to go cook for Krishna one morning. But when Danishta found out that Radha couldn't leave the house, she made a plan. Lalita, Radha's dear friend, was also there, and Danishta whispered something in Lalita's ear. Danishta left, and Lalita and Vishaka went to spend time with Radha. Vishaka came from Radha's room and spoke to Jatila with great anxiety. Radha's just been bitten by a serpent and she's about to die. We have to get a doctor quick. So Jatila decided she would go at once to Purnamasi and seek her advice. Jatila asked Purnamasi, do you have a doctor? Here's the situation. Radha is about to die from a snake bite. Purnamasi said, most likely, Gargi, the daughter of Gargamuni, knows how to do this. Her father probably trained her.
那么 Purnamasi 说，很有可能 Gargamuni 的女儿知道该怎么办，因为 Gargamuni 教过她。
And Gargi said, well, my father didn't train me, but I have a sister, and she just happens to be visiting me from a distant place, and she has all this training. I can bring her. Her name is Vidyavali. Vidyavali.
然后 Gargi 说到了，我的爸爸并没有给我这方面的训练，但是呢，我刚好有一个妹妹，她远道而来看我，
When
她的名字叫 Vidyavali， 那她受到了这方面的训练，她知道该怎么办。
the father is Gargamuni, who lived in Mathura. The father is Gargamuni, who lived in Mathura.
她的父亲 Gargamuni 住在 Mathura。
When the young girl became married, she lived with her husband. Gargi's husband lived in Vrindavan. Vidyavali's husband, it was said, lived in Kashi. So she was visiting her in Vrindavan.
那么，当这个女孩子成婚之后，是和丈夫住在一起。Gargi 的丈夫居住在 Vrindavan， 所以 Gargi 嫁过来之后，就也居住在 Vrindavan。那么 Vidyavali 她嫁到了，她的丈夫居住在 Kasi， 所以 Vidyavali 后来也住到了 Kasi。所以那个时候 Vidyavali 从 Kasi 过来到 Vrindavan 看望 Gargi。
Jatila pleaded, "Oh, Gargi, please come, bring your sister Vidyavali. Come at once to save the life of my daughter-in-law, Radha."
然后 Jatila 在那里哀求着 Gargi， 请你带着你的妹妹 Vidyavali 赶紧去给Radha 治病吧。Radha 快要死了，去救救我的这个儿媳妇 Radha 吧。
Meanwhile, Dhanishta had put Krishna in a costume, so he would appear to be the sister of Gargi, Vidyavali, and the doctor arrived at Jatila's home.
就与此同时呢 Dhanishta 给 Krishna 化妆，给他穿上了这个化妆服，穿的就像是Vidyavali， 穿的就像是 Gargi 的妹妹 Vidyavali 的样子。然后呢，他就作为医生去到了 Jatila 的家中。
So Dr. Vidyavali made the following recommendation.
然后这个医生 Vidyavali 他听从了这样的建议。
I know the proper mantras, but it has to be done in private because it's private mantras. And I need betel nuts to chew and then pass the betel nuts to the mouth of the victim.
然后这个医生 Vidyavali 就给 Jatila 提出了这样的一个建议，他说呢，要去做这个治疗，必须要私下里就是私下里做这个治疗，而且呢还要有这个槟榔叶，医生要把这个槟榔叶嚼了之后用嘴送到这个病人的嘴里。
Jatila agreed.
Jatila 听了以后同意了。
So Krishna, in the form of Dr. Vidyavali, entered Radharani's room.
然后伪装成 Vidyavali 医生的 Krishna
and he was chanting mantras very loudly with Jatila pressed with her ear against the door.
然后呢，他就大声的吟诵曼陀罗。这个时候，Jatila他把耳朵贴在门口，听里面发生了什么。
So Krishna then imitated the sound of the snake as he was chanting the snake to release his poison.
那 Krishna 这个时候就模仿蛇的声音，然后这个蛇的声音，就是 Krishna imitates the snake.
Krishna imitated the sound of the snake that was saying the reason that this bad event has taken place is because Jatila ordered Radha to not go to Nandagram and cook for Krishna.
然后 Krishna 呢，他就是模仿的这个蛇的声音啊，说到了，之所以这件事情发生，就是Jatila阻止Radha去和 Nanda Maharaj 的 Krishna。
And if Jatila continued to prevent Radha to go to cook for Krishna, then there's no doctor that could cure the poison that I've bitten Radha with.
如果Jatila再继续阻止 Radha 去到Yashoda 的家给 Krishna 做饭的话，那么这世界上没有一个医生能去除掉这个蛇毒。
In fact, the very next day, your daughter-in-law will die.
实际上，如果你继续这么做的话，第二天你的儿媳妇就会死去。
And Jatila heard this from the other side of the door.
Jatila 在这个门口偷听到了这一切。
And she called out loudly through the door, "Okay, okay, Radharani can go and resume cooking for Krishna."
然后他就隔着这个门在那里大哭着：“好吧，好吧，让你可以去给 Krishna 做饭。”
So Dr. Vidyavali emerged from the room and said, "It's all okay now."
然后这个
Dr. Vidyavali emerged from Radharani's room and said, "She's well now. Everything is going to be okay."
然后呢，这个 Vidyavali 这个医生呢，就从这个 Radharani 的屋子里出来了，说现在一切都解决了，一切都安然无恙。
Now, there's more stories, but it takes a long time to translate into English, into Chinese. And we've gone for an hour and a half.
还有一段自然时光，要翻译起来的话，可能要花上1个半小时翻译成中文。
So maybe next time when we get together, I can tell some more stories.
也许下一次当我们聚在一起的时候，我可以告诉大家更多的故事，自然时光。
One of them involves Purnamasi, as you see her pictured here in this painting.
那其中的一个就是关于 Purnamasi 的自然时光，跟它有关的自然时光，就像我们在图片上看的这张照片一样。
This is the palace of Rishabhanu. No, the palace of Abhimanyu. The palace of Abhimanyu, and that's Radha upstairs.
我们可以看到这张图片呢，是 Abhimanyu 的宫殿，上面可以看到 Radharani 就在楼上。
So we'll tell this story another time. And there's many more.
关于这段消息时光，我们在
Naturally, the pastimes of Radharani are very sweet, just like her.
亚德拉尼的这一生时光就像亚德拉尼本人一样，十分的甜美。
And I'll end with just showing some nice photographs of Radha Shyamasundar in Vrindavan.
现在这个荧幕上是放的是在文达文的 Radha Shyamasundar 的图片，形象的图片。
On our left is Lalita, or on Shyamasundar's right is Lalita.
那么在 Shyamasundar 的右手，也就是我的左手边是 Lalita，
And on our right, or Radha's left, is Vishaka.
在我们的右手边，也就是 Radha 的左手边是 Vishaka。
Here's the same day, but a little closer up image.
这是近照，同一个照片的近照。
And again, the same day in a close picture of Radha's face.
这也是在同一天照的亚德拉尼的脸庞。
And the same day, a close-up of Radharani's feet.
这也是在这一天亚德拉尼的显现日这一天，我们可以看到图片上亚德拉尼的莲花足。
In Vrindavan, once a year on Radhastmi, it's a practice to show Radharani's feet. Otherwise, no.
在文达文就在亚德拉尼的显现日那一天，才让神像亚德拉尼的莲花足露出来，其他的时间是不露在外面的。
Radharani's features are very sweet and charming.
亚德拉尼的特征是非常的迷人和甜美的，
Her smile is very soothing.
她的微笑是如此的平静甜
In,
美。
in Vrindavan, they decorate with abundant, colorful flowers.
在文达文，人们用各种各样大量的鲜花来装扮亚德拉尼。
I mean, look at the detail of the flower ornaments that she's wearing.
我们可以看到这个图片上有各种各样的鲜花装扮着亚德拉尼。
There's again Radharani's feet.
看，我们再看一看亚德拉尼的莲花足。
Another festival day photograph.
这是在另一个节日的时候拍摄的神像的照片。
And that's it for this evening.
这就是今天的课程。
Only it's your morning.
当然是美国的晚上，是你们的早上。
So we'll see if there's some discussion.
我们看看有什么问题。Yes, go ahead. 顶拜咕噜，顶拜 Mataji。印度剧演的 Radharani， 在5000年前，降临地球展现逍遥时光时，受到一位奉献者的诅咒，这是真的吗 ？So this question from Li back team. Also, my obeisance to Guru. So in India, there is a drama. In the drama, sorry. So in the drama, it said that when Radharani appeared on the earth 5,000 years ago, he was cursed by a devotee. Is this true?
No.
不是。
There's a story in Brahma Vaivarta Purana that speaks of an argument in Krishna Loka between Radharani's elder brother Sridham and Radha. Brahma Vaivarta Purana tells this story.
Brahma Vaivarta Purana 事。
There was a disagreement between Sridham, her elder brother, and Radha.
就是在这个 Purana 里面讲到了 Radharani 和他的哥哥 Sridham 之间发生了分歧。
So Sridham said, "You're going to have to take birth on earth." And Radha was in anxiety. She said to Krishna, "Oh, my brother said," he said, "no worries. It is time for our appearance, and we'll go together. I'll be with you." It was like that, something like that.
然后呢 Radharani 就去告诉，非常忧心忡忡的告诉 Krishna 说的，我的哥哥 Sridham 说让我会投生在，会降生到这个地球上。
Brahma Vaivarta Purana.
Radharani 非常的焦虑 ，Krishna 听了以后说不用担心，正是我们到了在地球上去上演消时光的时候，我们会一起去到那里。
That answer the question?
回答了你的问题了吗
Okay.
So the next question
Yeah.
from Jamuna Priya， 圣 Radha 最初显现为，这个 Yeah, this already answered yesterday the question.
Okay, fine.
感恩咕噜和翻译精彩的讲述，请接受我最没有资格的、最卑微的顶戴。您讲到 Krishna 背后憋着一个笛子 ，Krishna 到底有多少只笛子呢？每只笛子的作用都是什么呢？我的念珠带的图案上就是 Radharani 吹着笛子，请问这只笛子是 Krishna 的还是 Radharani 的呢 ？So this question from Bhakti Wang Yan. Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my most humble obeisances, most unqualified and most humble obeisances. So you mentioned that Krishna had his flute in his bag. So my question that how many flutes Krishna has? And does each flute has a respective function? So on my japa bed, there is a picture shows that Radharani blows the flute. So this flute is Srimati Radharani's or Krishna's? Thank you.
I don't know what's on your bead bag. But she probably has snatched Krishna's flute to play it.
很有可能是这个 Radharani 把这个 Krishna 的笛子抢了过来，在那里吹。
And Surabhi can tell you where to find in Nectar Devotion the description of Krishna's different types of flutes.
在后来的甘露里面讲到了 Krishna 有多少种笛子，所以可以把这个地方待会儿告诉你。
They're of different lengths, they're of different numbers of holes, and so forth.
那么这个笛子呢，有长有短，也有不同的笛子，有这个不同的笛，有不同数量的笛孔的笛子。
Next.
Yes, next. Swami Radharani 有25项崇高的品质，其中的一项是狡猾。狡猾是一个贬义词，请问 Radharani 如何狡猾？有例子吗 ？So Radharani have a 25 very good qualities. One of those is cunning. So cunning, this word cunning is not good.
Oh, it's very good. Cunning.
Testing that. Yeah, why? How Radharani is cunning?
Oh,
Any examples?
it's a good quality. She's very clever.
她是非常非常聪明的。
Everything she does is to enhance Krishna's pleasure. So she figures out very clever ways to arrange for Krishna's pleasure. That's her cunning.
那么Srimati Radharani 她所做的一切呢，都是为了增强 Krishna 的喜悦。所以 Radharani 她用各种各样的聪明的办法去增加 Krishna 的喜悦，这就是她的狡猾之处，可爱狡猾之处，聪明之处。That's it.
Okay. There's one question here. Yes?
More question.
One more question over there. Okay, go ahead.
热爱生命，顶戴咕噜给他翻译在物质世界成了 Krishna 的奉献者之后，是不是能感受到和 Krishna 的逍遥时光？感恩咕噜的回答，顶戴明太祖。This question from 200年。I'll offer my obeisances to you, to your lotus feet. So, in this material world, when one becomes a devotee of Lord Krishna, so then such a devotee can feel the pastimes with Krishna?
Can feel? Feel the pastimes?
Yeah.
You have to be qualified, but yeah. More than feel, you can participate.
是的，当一个人具备资格的时候，他不仅可以感受到，而且能够参与其中。Yeah, and more questions.
Let's do this, Surabhi.
Yes.
I'm going to do the local questions, and you'll have 5 more questions after he finishes the local question. Okay.
那么现在是当地的一位奉献者提出一个问题，然后我们再继续这边奉献者提出来的问题。
Maharaj, this question is from Radhika Priya. So, Srimad, we hear that Radha's name is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam because when Shukadev Goswami speaks, he may go into a trance. But it was actually written by Vyasadev, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why he did not write it?
Because Sukadeva was the speaker. He's speaking what was spoken. He's writing what was spoken. He didn't speak it, so he didn't write it.
So Vyasadev wrote after Shukadev Goswami was speaking?
Yeah, of course.
I thought Vyasadev wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, after that Shukadev Goswami spoke that.
Doesn't really matter. I mean, the chronology is not critical. What's critical is Shukadev Goswami speaking, and he's writing what Shukadev Goswami is speaking, whether it's before or after, chronologically. He's just writing what he was going to speak, or what he in the past what he spoke. The chronology is not the essence. So you translate, you understand the question, Surabhi, and give the answer.
The question relates to the Radharani mentioned on that.
Yeah, so go ahead and you translate for them.
OK. 那么这个问题呢是这样说的，是在Sukadeva Goswami 讲述圣典国家晚谈的时候，并没有提到 Radharani 的名字。Sukadeva Goswami 但是呢，在 Vyasadeva 赞助的，但是 Vyasadeva 在赞助圣典国家晚谈的时候却写到了，那这是怎么回事呢？怎么理解？Guru Maharaj 的回答是，就是意思是说，这个 Sukadeva Goswami 是 聆听了圣典国教导坛 yesterday 的之后，然后讲述了圣典国教导坛，那已经是在此之前有了国教导坛，那为什么现在这个路上没有提到 Radhastmi 的名字呢？
So we've been going for almost 2 hours. We've been going for almost 2 hours, and I'm ready to wind up. Looks fatigue in the room here.
Now we have 14 minutes. 然后你妈的这个回答是说，这个时间的前后并不是重要，时间的前后并不是重要。但是会不会像在讲述圣典国教导坛的时候，并没有提到 Radha 的名字，因为他提到以免一提到 Radhastmi 的名字，他会陷入这种神定的狂喜当中。
Now, Surabhi, yeah, just quiet for a moment. I'm going to explain to the people in the room. They're used to a 2-hour class because it takes so long to translate it. So 1-hour class becomes 2 hours to translate into Chinese. So they're used to a 2-hour class. And we're a little fatigued because we're not used to 2-hour classes. So we'll just have to be, I mean, if you're restless or something, you can do what you need to do. We'll go for another 13 minutes. Go ahead, Surabhi.
Yes, thank you. 顶拜咕噜和翻译，请问作为一个努力规范4项基本原则，坚持每天16圈以上圣名念诵和阅读聆听圣典的学生，在没有得到启迪之前，算不算奉献者呢？Krishna 会不会保护他们的亲人呢？他这样在 Krishna 知觉中的努力，会不会利益到即将临终的亲人呢？This question from Sumuki Yada. I offer my obeisances to you. So, as a devotee who is not initiated yet, every day he follows the 4 principles, regulated principles, and every day chant 16 rounds, and also listen and read the scriptures. For such a student, if he is not initiated yet, so such a student is considered as a devotee? This is the first question.
I'm surprised that question is being asked. But the answer is yes.
很惊讶，为什么很惊讶问这样的问题？回答是当然了，他算奉献者了。So in this situation, will Krishna protect such devotees?
Yes.
Family members?
Yes.
Krishna 会保护这样的奉献者的亲人。
Now, our idea of protection may not be the same as Krishna's idea of protection.
我们对 Krishna 的保护的概念，跟 Krishna 给予保护的这个概念是不一样的。
Next.
Yeah. So, if we continue making endeavor in Krishna consciousness, his practice of Krishna consciousness will give the benefits to the relatives who is dying.
Well, the ones that are living too. And the ones that are already dead.
就是他这样在 Krishna 知觉当中努力，不仅能够就是有利，不仅给他的活着的亲人带来利益，甚至给那些死去的亲人都会带去利益。
Next.
Yeah, the next. Jamuna Priya. 顶拜咕噜，感谢您精彩的讲课，这些消时光真的太甜美了。我们知道Sri Radha 的丈夫和婚姻只是一个影子摆设而已，为了增加他和 Krishna 的爱恋消融。请问，当 Krishna 离开 Vrindavan 之后，圣 Radharani 无法直接与 Krishna 相见，在余生中又是怎样 他在余生中又是以怎样的心态度过婚姻、家庭和生活呢？
It's a long one.
有关 Radharani 的语气经典有没有描述？还有关 Radharani 的莲花族的标志，它的右脚底上的鱼代表着什么呢？
Very intricate question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll offer my obeisance to you. Thank you for your wonderful lecture. So these pastimes about Radharani is so sweet. We know that Srimati Radharani married with her husband like a shadow. So those pastimes just those pastimes are meant for increase or enhance Radharani, the love pastimes of her loving pastimes with Krishna. So when Krishna left Vrindavan, and then Radharani couldn't directly meet with Krishna. So in her rest of life, how Srimati Radharani, in which mood Srimati Radharani goes through her marriage life? This is the first question.
This is the first time I've been asked this question. But she went through her married life the same way before and after, because it was a so-called marriage to her so-called husband, etc. That's how.
Krishna 离开在文达文和 Krishna 离开文达文，他都是以同样的方式度过他的婚姻。因为他的这个婚姻只不过是和所谓的丈夫，生活在一起，跟所谓的丈夫结婚。
It is said many times by our acharyas that Abhimanyu never even touched Radha. And don't ask me any details about that one. But our acharyas say that regularly.
So about Srimati Radharani's disappearance, is there any description in any scripture?
I've not heard any, other than Krishna arranged for all the residents of Vrindavan to enter into their aprakat or unmanifest lila. Next.
Yeah, the next about the marks on Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. So
I don't have any answer to that question. I haven't studied her feet. These are very esoteric questions and not so practical for your advancement in bhakti. So she should focus, Jamuna Priya should focus on more practical questions that will help her advance in bhakti.
This Jamuna Priya is translated who lives in Shanghai. Danakini, from Danakini. Hare Krishna，感恩 Maharaj 的动人的讲述和 Swami Mataji 的生动的翻译。请问 Jatila 和 Kutila 是否都是永恒解脱的灵魂？当我们阅读关于他的消时光时，应该以怎样的心态对待他们呢？ This question from Danakini. Thank you. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you for your very vivid narration about those pastimes. And my question is that about Jatila and Kutila, both of them are eternal, liberated souls.
That's my understanding. They're not. I don't know anything authoritative from our scriptures, so I can't say for sure. But that's my understanding.
关于这一点呢，没法给出就是权威经典当中的这个具体的回答，所以对这一点我不确认。But you understand that both of them are liberated, eternal liberated souls.
My answer is I don't know anything authoritative from Scripture, so I cannot say for sure. But as far as I understand, yes.
到目前为止，我的理解是 Jatila 和 Kutila 是永恒解脱的灵魂，但是我无法确切的从每个权威的经典，按照每个权威的经典来确切的给出一个答案。So when we read the pastime about them, in which attitude we consider them?
We consider them as being very fortunate.
我们可以这样就是这样看待他们，看他们是非常幸运的。
They're inspired by Super Soul within their heart to act in such a way that increases the joy of Krishna's cleverness and Radha's cleverness to meet despite opposition. Despite.
那么他们是在心中超灵的激励下，去来增加 Krishna 的聪明的快乐，来增加 Radharani 的聪明的快乐，来满足这个作为这个所谓的这个探子的这个地位的角色，作为探子的地位的角色。就你的那个，你就忘了。
Surabhi, it's time to end. We've gone more than 2 hours, and I'm ready to end. I hope that's okay. Yeah. Last one. Happens every time.
So this question from Jambalati. 顶拜姑对 Radharani 的地位是非常崇高的，他崇高的地位是由 Krishna 确立的吗？只是因为他对 Krishna 的纯粹的爱吗？还是因为其他的原因 ？So I offer my obeisance to Gurudev. Radharani, the position of the Radharani is very elevated. So his elevated position is established by Krishna because of her pure love for Krishna or due to other reasons?
Well, it's not just because of Krishna establishes her in a certain way. Rather, eternally she is in that position. Now, if you can say Krishna establishes everything that's eternal, then that's okay. But she's eternally in that position. It's not like once upon a time Krishna was thinking, well, she's really nice, and so I'll establish her in this very special way. Not so. It's not a time bound. It's an eternal relationship with Krishna.
不是因为什么什么原因，然后 Krishna 确立了他的崇高的地位，是 Srimad Radharani 他的崇高的地位永恒就是这样。并不是说在很久以前某个时候 Radharani Krishna 看到 Radharani 这么好，然后确立了他的崇高的地位，不是这样子的，不是，是 Radharani 他的崇高的地位是永恒的，他永恒的处在这样崇高的地位。
Okay. It's been nice being with you, and we'll see you again next time.
非常高兴跟大家在这里相聚，我们下一次见。Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
For your wonderful lecture and answering those questions. 非常感谢大家提出美好的这些问题。那么还有几个问题，因为今天时间的原因，所以没法继续，请大家原谅。Hare Krishna， 希望我们大家每天都沉浸在 Krishna 知足的美好的喜悦当中。感谢大家，拜拜大家。